Number 9. No one lives at number 9. That's what we tell ourselves. But why? Why does no one live at number 9? Too much of a fixer-upper. The property market is a rough road, better to rent. This town's too remote. Most folks are just passing through. Excuses, exaggerations, lies. Truth is, lots of people have moved into that old place. It's been standing for over a century. Nice town, friendly neighbours, and nature right on your doorstep. What's not to love? And yet, no one lives at number 9. I've lived across the street from it my whole life. Its creepy, dark, rotten face looking over at me since as far back as I can remember. I would ask my folks about it now and then. Can you guess what they'd say? So I'd ask neighbours. Same response. Friends, brothers and sisters, store owners, the sheriff. Hell, I even tried to ask the mayor once. Gave the same old answer with a big smile and a laugh, as if it was something I hadn't heard by the age of 8. I was never satisfied with that answer. Neither were my friends, but we were all too scared to go inside. Made a game out of it. Typical kid stuff. I got close once though. Stepped onto the lawn. It was so overgrown it was hiding the pavement leading up to the front door. But I remember feeling them beneath my feet. It was like walking through a hallway. Nothing but the path forward mattered in that moment. Until I hear my mom sharply calling my name. That snapped me out of my trance. I expected her to yell at me, but when I got close she just smiled, gently cupped my face, and said that number 9 was old and dirty, not a place for me to explore. There was something behind those words and her expression, but at that time, I didn't know what it was. Some years later, a couple moved in. It was a steal, and all the supplies they needed for the fixer-upper could be bought local. I became obsessed with the development. I watched them every chance I got. Thinking back, I must have looked really creepy. Some 10-year-old staring out through the window across the street, or riding my bike past slowly, never taking my eyes off the place. The wife definitely noticed me after a while. She came outside one day as I was staring and introduced herself, saying she'd seen me looking at the place. "No one lives here," I remember saying, but almost like a question. She looked confused but amused. "Well, I live here now." I was looking past her, still studying the house. "Yeah, I don't get it either." Then I just turned and went home. Time passed and the house was eventually fully renovated. It looked good. Wasn't creepy anymore. Just another part of the neighborhood. The day they eventually moved in changed everything for me. I can't remember what time it was, but it was dark out and everyone was asleep. I woke up to a faint scream from outside. The moment I opened my eyes, I thought it was a bad dream. But quickly there was another one. My bed was by my window. I remember moving the curtains to peek through. Across the street, at number 9, the lights were flashing downstairs in what I think was the living room. I could just about make out some mess on the floor, but I couldn't tell you what it was. I opened my curtains and even my window. I wanted to know what was going on. It was only when I was holding myself half out the windowsill I could hear clearer. Loud, angry, crashing sounds echoed towards me. I got so scared I remembered calling for my dad. I wanted to go get him, but all I could focus on was number 9. The flickering lights all stopped, and the noises stopped. At least all but one. I hadn't noticed it before. I don't know how. She was so clear in that moment. How did I not see her? The wife. the one I'd spoken to, was upstairs, slamming her hands on the window. There was just enough lights from our street to vaguely see her, but that room was shrouded in darkness. She must have seen me too. Her face was pressed against the window and her hands just kept appearing and disappearing as she continued to slam them on the glass. Then the lights in her room began to flicker on and off. I saw her quickly turn around. The lights went off, then suddenly a force pulled me back through my window and onto my bed. I screamed and fought, but when I heard my name being said, I soon realized it was my dad. He was asking me what was wrong. I remember tearfully telling him what I saw. Mom quickly joined us and turned the lights on in my room. They sat with me and reassured me that it was just a bad dream, but I was adamant what I saw was real. He opened the curtains and looked through. After a moment, he gestured for me to do the same. Hesitantly, I moved over and peered through. The house was dark and quiet. There was no sign of anything wrong there. I tried again to tell my parents, but they kept reassuring me that it was all just a bad dream. I calmed down and eventually started to feel tired again, drifting back to sleep. In the morning, I stood outside the house and stared in. It looked empty. No one came or went all day. When I returned home, I asked my parents what had happened to the new people. "What new people, sweetheart?" My mom asked as if I was making up a story. "The new people across the street in the old house," I responded, confused that they couldn't figure that out. "No one lives at number 9, son," my dad said, patting my head as he passed by. That moment still sticks in my mind. I just couldn't understand it. I wanted to keep asking, but something in me just said I already knew what to expect. I grew to hate that house. It's a weird thing to say, but I did. I hated that there was clearly something wrong with it, but everyone just pretended it was normal. Shortly after that night, I was passing by on my way back home. I stopped on my bike and just stared at it. It loomed over me as if staring right back. I got so angry I picked up the biggest rock I could find and threw it at the house, shattering a window. I stared in through that broken glass and past the window itself, half expecting to see some monster peer at me with glowing eyes through the darkness of the house. Or maybe the door would swing open and long demonic arms would drag me screaming inside. But no, nothing happened. The house was still, almost like it was mocking me, as if whatever I did or said didn't matter. Since then, it's just fallen back into ruin, but it's still standing every damn day. Tried bringing it up recently with some friends and neighbours at a town barbecue. There was a small group of us stood around when I inadvertently decided to bring down the mood. "Why does nobody do anything about number 9? I asked. "Like what? Auction it off? Who'd want to buy the Mold Motel?" one of my dad's friends replied. "I wouldn't say no to a vacation home, but somewhere a little further than 2 blocks over," joked another. "I'm not talking about selling it, just tearing it down," I clarified. "Sure, you should bring that up to the realtors. That'd really help it sell," one joked. "It's an open plan that gets plenty of fresh air," another added. Many enjoyed the joke. Does no one want to know what's going on there? I was getting angry. "What about the people who've gone missing?" I demanded. "What people?" I heard someone say. "No one lives at..." I stopped them before they could finish. "Why does everyone keep pretending it's a normal house? Why are we living with this place that's clearly..." I fought over the right word. "Wrong. Shouldn't someone investigate? Or have the place exorcised or something?" A few chuckled at my rambling. "You're a little old to be believing in haunted houses, don't you think?" a neighbour said. I would have laid into them further had my friends not pulled me away, making the excuse to go get some food. They'd all brushed me off, like I was some overgrown kid with an active imagination. Except my friends. They just stayed quiet about it. Someone must have talked to my dad because he insisted on driving me home that night when everyone was leaving. We talked for a while, though not about you-know-where. I think he was concerned I'd try to break into the place or something, and I can't say the thought hadn't crossed my mind. But no, I just went to bed, no questions answered, just like every night. It's never stopped bothering me, even after all these years. Every day I wake up and want to see it reduced to rubble, just completely brought down. It's a rotten shell of a building. It should have fallen by now, but it won't. No matter how much time passes, it remains. I want to leave this place. I want to move away and never come back. But every time I think about it, I find myself making excuses as to why I should stay. I want to go to college, but then I think maybe I should take up a trade and work alongside my dad. I was mowing the grass the other day. Had music playing, but in the back of my mind I was still obsessing over that house. It was watching me, I know it was, but I didn't know why yet. "Hi!" A voice came from behind me. There was a man leaning out of his car and waving at me, big friendly smile on his face. I turned the lawnmower off. "Sorry to bother you, but do you live on this block?" he added. "Yeah," I said, walking over to the car. It was here I could see a woman I assumed to be his wife and a couple of kids in the back seat. "Great. I know this is out of the blue, but do you know if this house is for sale?" he said, pointing past his wife and towards number 9. My heart jumped in my chest. "Stay away from that house. It's all wrong. It's evil. Do yourself and them a favor and drive on out of here," is what I wanted to say more than anything. But instead something else came out. "Yeah, no one lives there." I heard the words, but couldn't believe that I said them. "Oh, that's great news. We've been looking for a new place to set up roots with the little ones, and this town is perfect. Seems like a great neighborhood," the wife said. "No, get out of here. You don't want that house," I screamed in my head. "Yeah, it's pretty much perfect." I just kept talking, but the words weren't mine. "The old place you're looking at is a fixer-upper, but last I checked, it's running cheap, and you can get all the supplies in town." How was this happening? I couldn't be saying this. Plus, if you're looking to move in, the stores will give you a local discount and send some of the guys around to fix the place up. Help you get settled in that much faster. My voice continued. They looked so happy. All the while I felt my stomach drop. "Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Hope you'll be sticking around the neighborhood." They were beaming at me. Oh, I've lived here my whole life. I could feel that fake smile stretch across my face. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. I'm starting to get it now. After all this time, the message is finally setting in. No one lives at number 9.